It's Friday Coffee with your mortgage man, Eric. So today, some good stuff again, guys. We're going to talk about self-employment. And even if you're not self-employed, you know somebody it is or your spouse is. And how does this affect getting pre-approved for a home loan? And you probably think that self-employed means something different than what it really means when getting a home loan. Two different things, right? Okay. And how does this affect it, right? How does this affect the process? How does this affect filing your tax returns? What does the IRS do with the tax returns of self-employed individuals? We're going to get into this. So self-employed means if you are receiving anything other than a W-2 at the end of the year, you're self-employed. If you're reporting your wages on your own, like you're a handyman, right, and people cut out checks to you, personally, and you're going to report those wages or some of those wages at the end of the year, you're self-employed. That's going on what is called the Schedule C on the tax returns. Now, I know this is where sometimes it starts to sound a little Mandarin, a little Chinese, as they say, and you don't understand the depth of the tax return, and that's fine, perfectly fine. That's why I'm here to help you. Schedule C income is where some of the self-employed income gets reported to on the tax return. Again, anything other than a W-2 wage earning position, you're going to be classified as self-employed. So, somebody that has an LLC, somebody that is a subcontractor, an independent contractor, somebody that's going to receive a 1099 at the end of the year, right? Sometimes they don't think they're self-employed, well, because they have a boss, right? They're working for that company over there, but they're an independent contractor, and they give them a 1099 at the end of the year. You're self-employed. Now, the joys of self-employed, right, is that you can write everything off. Now, look, I see people that make $300,000 a year. They're living a decent lifestyle, and they write off $280,000, right? And you're like, well, it's great, because then I don't have to pay the federal government any taxes. It's perfect. That's what I want. But on paper, you make $20,000 a year. So, right? How much of a home do you think you can get pre-approved for by making $20,000 a year? So, as they say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't write off all your income and not pay the IRS any money, federal government any money for your taxes, and be able to buy a $300,000 home or $200,000, whatever it is. You can't do that. So, what you have to come to terms with is not writing off $280,000 if you make $300,000, right? You have got to go at it methodically. So this is where a good CPA comes into place. First off, if you're self-employed, you should not be doing your own taxes. If you are, mistake number one. That's just, you shouldn't be doing that. That's taboo, rule number one. If you're self-employed, a good CPA will be able to tell you the consequences. Well, look, yeah, we can write off your socks and this permit and these items that you bought for your home office, and we can write off all that stuff, absolutely. But if we do, and if you're looking to buy a home at some point in the future, you might get into trouble. Now, see, most CPAs won't get into detail of that. They won't tell you about that. They won't get into the weeds, right? They're just going to, hey, I'm going to save you all this money, man. You're not going to have to owe the federal government anything by the time I'm done with your tax returns, right? And you think, well, that's great. Well, not when it comes time to getting pre-approved for a home loan. It's terrible, because I see how much money you've made, and there's nothing I can do for you because your CPA just went down one path and didn't disclose to you. CPA, bookkeeper, accountant, kind of synonymous. Certified public accountant is a CPA. Anyhow, if you need a good CPA, please let me know. One that will disclose to you the consequences in either direction of how you file your tax return when being self-employed. Now, there is a form that us lenders have to utilize for every mortgage loan transaction, which is called a 4506T. That's the name of the form. That form we fill out, You sign it, we submit it to the IRS. The IRS, what they do is they take your tax return and turn it into transcript data. And we have to have the transcripts. It's another misunderstanding. People are like, why do you got to have that? I've already given you my tax returns. Why do you need that? Well, because this is not the tax return. These are the transcripts. Why do we need them? Because of all the fraud, right, that was done back in the heyday, the subprime days, the housing meltdown. So now transcripts is a way to verify the authenticity that your tax returns were actually filed with the IRS. They're not fraud, right? I know it might sound, just ridiculous to you, and I don't blame you, but the amount of fraud that still goes on today in the mortgage market is ridiculous itself, unbeknownst to you, more than likely. So when we file that with the IRS and we wait for the transcripts to come back, that's great. They verify, you filed your tax returns. Now here's the issue. If they come back and there's no verification of your returns that are being filed, we have a problem, because now we can't utilize that income for the year. It's no return on file. We got a problem. And what usually happens with the self-employed crowd is you guys wait to file. You file an extension. Now we're going into October, right? October 15th deadline. You file it on the 15th. And it could take months for the IRS to turn them into transcript data. So now follow me here. Let's say 2016, your 2016 year, you did phenomenal. You filed an extension on April 15th for the October 15th deadline. You filed on the 15th. They don't turn it into transcript data until December sometime. We're waiting almost a whole year of 2017 just so that we can use your 2016 income. That is a hindrance to you when trying to buy a loan. Now look, I get the whole thing, kicking the proverbial can down the road, don't want to cut the IRS a check. I get that concept. Trust me, I get it. But you have to understand, if you're looking at buying a home, this is why I put out these videos, if you're looking to buy a home, the best thing that you can do is be proactive and file your tax return as soon as you possibly can, which is right around January 22nd, January 23rd, somewhere in there. File the return as soon as possible. And then the IRS will process it in about 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks. And now we can utilize your income in March for the previous year. We could start working on your home loan, your pre-approval. Now here's another thing. If you owe the IRS monies and you do not pay them monies when you file the return, they're not going to process your transcripts right away. It could be months. They're putting you at the back end of the line. So 2 things got to happen. If you owe the IRS money, pay them. Pay them at the time you file the taxes. Pay them. Or 2, get into a payment plan ASAP. Here's the thing that you need to know. If you get into a payment plan, you have to be in the payment plan for 3 months before you can be pre-approved for a home loan. And you can't accelerate. I'm going to give them 3 months of payments right away up front. They won't allow that. The mortgage market will not allow that. It's 3 non-accelerated payments to the IRS before we can pre-approve you for the home loan. So you got to keep that in mind. Huge misunderstanding there. So backtrack a bit for self-employed borrowers. The biggest tips I can give you is look at the future. Are you trying to get pre-approved for a home loan in the next year or 2? If so, you need to methodically plan how you're going to file your tax returns, and maybe not write as much off so you show more income on paper. And yes, that may mean you need to have to cut a larger check to the IRS for your self-employed taxes. Yes, absolutely. But how else are we going to get you pre-approved for a home loan, right? So you have to prepare for that mentally, right? That's number 1 thing. Number 2, go to a CPA that understands that and discloses to you both ways, rather than just saying, I'm going to save you all this money, you don't have to pay the IRS any money, right? That's 2. 3, file your taxes quickly. If you know, look, if you're going to buy a home in the next year or 2, right? You have to file your taxes quickly. Now, 4th thing, you're self-employed. How many years do you have to be self-employed to get a home loan? 2, right? Now here's where it gets tricky. You have to be self-employed for 2 years, proof of a business license, LLC paperwork, tax returns. So follow me here. If you didn't file your tax returns and or the IRS has not transferred them into transcript data, then where's the proof, right? So there's many times what happens is we get a person that says, hey, look, I had a phenomenal year last year, self-employed. Here's my tax returns. And we're waiting months for the IRS to turn them into transcript data. And unfortunately, it's like, look, I don't want to tell you, we cannot pre-approve you for a home loan because the IRS, well, why hasn't the IRS done that? Contact them. And, now it's the runaround, right? The federal government does not act quickly. The IRS does not act quickly. It just doesn't. It's a long process. And look, the IRS makes mistakes. They do. More times than you want to know. I currently have a person in my pipeline right now who is waiting. Check this out. The IRS cashed his $12,000 check that he owed him for self-employed taxes. They cashed the check, but have yet to file his transcripts for his 2016 tax return. We're in 2018 right now, today, right? Think about that. We're in a timeout. His CPA's involved with the IRS, and look, we're at the mercy of the IRS now. And it's unfortunate. This guy should be in a home. This guy should be in a home. Now, look, these are one of those things where, yes, the mortgage market should catch up to some common sense, we would hope. But they're not in this venue, not in this topic or this caveat. They're not. Across the board, it's the same way for, it doesn't matter if it's Chase or a direct lender or if it's Quicken, it doesn't matter. Across the board, this is the same way. So there's no common sense anymore in the mortgage industry when it comes to this. So I got a borrower sitting there right now. And we're waiting on a CPA to talk with the IRS and for the IRS to get off their duff and find out because he filed his tax returns on October the 15th, right? He filed the extension, filed them on the 15th. Here we are. 3 months later, though, almost 3 months later, right? November, December, January, they still have yet to turn his return into transcript data. But they cashed his check for $12,000. See the irritating thing about that. So just keep that in mind. Self-employment is tricky. Keep my tips in mind. If you have any more questions, concerns, intriguing situations, scenarios you want to ask me, reach out. 602-757-2171 or Kinneman, that's EKINNEMAN at lendsmartmortgage.com. I realize that's a mouthful, but I'm all over the internet if you want to Google me. With that said, it's Friday Coffee with your mortgage man, Eric. Have a great day and a great weekend. See you.